We have a good one today. What are the best crops to grow for your market farm? That's what this one's all about. Coming up, welcome to Modern Grower. Hello, growers. I'm Diego, D-I-E-G-O, and for the past 11 years, I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of farmers to talk about their journey into small-scale farming. I've learned a lot along the way, so my goal for this video and this channel is to share what I know about farming to help you on your farming journey. Stay tuned for more informational videos about market farming. And if you want to learn more about the growing side, be sure to check out other videos that we have on our channel by other creators. This one is going to be a good one. It gets down to the growing side, and the growing side is what gets a lot of people into farming. They want to get their hands in the dirt, go back to the land, live that lifestyle. So we're going to talk about what crops you should grow when you start your market farm. And I'm going to say should, because it's different than what crops you want to grow. That's one of the primary differences between market gardening and hobby gardening. Gardeners grow what they want, when they want. If it works, if it succeeds, if they have great results, good. If they don't, well, that's hobby gardening. It's fun. Market gardening is the opposite. Market gardening is a job, it's a business, it has to pay. So you have to grow a very specific type of crop to satisfy those objectives. At the end of the day, you're a business, you're not doing this for a hobby. So you need to find the crops to support your business. When it comes to market gardening, we have several constraints. Land size, our growing season, what equipment and infrastructure we have available, experience and skill level, market demand, and competition. Those are the things that limit us, and they're all unique, whether you're in Alabama, Nebraska, California, or Maine. You're all facing those constraints if you start a farm, but everybody's constraint level is a little bit different. So we have to work around those and cater our crops that we're going to plant and grow around those constraints to work for us, so those constraints don't become liabilities and we can find crops that fit into there and work. Given these constraints, here's what we need to focus on. Crops that, one, maximize the dollar value per square foot. Two, crops that maximize the dollar value per day in the bed. 3, produce high-value crops that can be sold direct to consumer for high profit margins. And 4, consistency and quality trump quantity. Remember, when we're on a market farm, unlimited land isn't a tool in our toolkit. We're usually size constrained. We're usually labor constrained. You're usually financially constrained. So we have these constraints. If we need to make a certain amount of money on our farm, the only way to turn up the dial on sales is by growing the most profitable crops. We can't focus on simply growing more, because growing more isn't always an option given the constraints: land, labor, and financial resources. So typically we want to focus on high value crops, not low value crops, not whatever we want to grow. Remember, we're a business, so we need to look at the crops that pay the most, high value crops. Now, as we go through this exercise, keep in mind that this is a starting point. This isn't gospel. This isn't do this list for every location, because every location, every market will in fact be different. This gives you a launch point. What I'm trying to do in this video and every video I do, you're not getting a recipe. I didn't find this tablet buried on Hill Cumorah in Palmyra, New York, right next to the town where I grew up. This is a starting point based upon years of experience talking to other farmers and where they started. So this helps you narrow the focus. You look at a seed catalog, there's this many crops. The gardener can dabble in all this. I'm trying to take the lens and bring it down, and we're going to focus on this little circle right here, because this little circle is where the money has to be, and that's where we need to get our income. So we'll focus on high value crops, and we'll use niche crops to fill in the gaps. Niche crops are maybe fun crops for us to grow, unique things that are geographically favorite, seasonal favorites, things that maybe complement other crops. They're not the main driver of the business. They're an add-on. It's if you're a gas station, you're selling gas, and the add-on is you sell newspapers or soda or chips. At the end of the day, gas is what's making you your money. The chips and the sodas are bonus money. Our high-value crops are the gas. The niche crops are our filler, the things people come in and buy to add to their basket when they've already bought the gas. When you look at this little lens right here, how do you determine what goes in it? How do you find the crops to grow? And if we're not choosing based upon what we want, we need a methodology to pick what crops we do want to grow. And one of the methodologies that I really admire and think makes a great starting point for farmers is called the crop value rating system. This was developed by urban farmer Curtis Stone back in 2015, 2016. Hard to believe that was about 10 years ago. And he looked at what he was successful doing and selling. He looked at what other farmers were successful doing. And when he wrote his book, The Urban Farmer, which I narrated, by the way, if you want to listen to that on Audible, check it out. You'll hear me reading it to you. He developed this crop rating system to try and give new farmers or prospective farmers a way to say, is this crop worth considering? And that's what this list is. Doesn't mean it's going to work. Doesn't mean it's a slam dunk. It just simply puts things in, we'll consider this. It's on the checklist. It's not an immediate weed out. We don't just throw it away. And it's a point scale that is 5 points total. So that's a max score. A 5 crop means that's the best possible crop, potentially for an urban farm. So you give points, 1 point for each category. The first category is short days to maturity. You want crops that are 60 days or less. That's how he's defining short days to maturity. Why do you want that? Well, you have limited land base. So to make the most money on a limited land base, you need to grow as many crops as you can on that limited land base. The only way we can do that is by growing the shortest crops available. In the best case, we have 360 days to work with. If we grew all 60-day crops, we could grow 360 days divided by 60 is 6. 6 crop rotations a year. If we did 120-day crops like potatoes, that would mean 3 crops per year. And let's just say, for the sake of this little micro point, that the profit margin was equal. The yields were equal. Well, I'd rather sell 6 things than 3, because 6 gives me a lot more to sell. So that's why you want short days to maturity. That feeds into this idea of maximizing the value per day in the bed. And this is a broad overview. So some sidestepping a little bit. This is a broad overview of this crop value rating in farm economics, which I can dive deeper into specific parts of this in future videos. This is an overview. You also want a high yield per linear foot. So you can start to compare crops against each other. High yield per linear foot means this. You have a bed, and it's generally a rectangle shape like this, usually 30 inches wide, 100 feet long. So a linear foot is 1 linear foot of length. So we have 100 linear feet in a 100-foot bed. We want to maximize the value per linear foot. This goes back to this idea of maximizing value per square foot, maximizing value per day. The more value we can get per linear foot of bed, the more our farm is worth. That's obvious. You have a 100-foot bed, gives you 100 units of crop. If every linear foot was worth 1 unit, that bed is worth 100 units. If we can find a crop that's twice as valuable, now the unit value of that bed goes to 200. We didn't add more land. Maybe we didn't add more time or more work. We've effectively doubled the value on the same point of land. Let's say we could go up 5x it. Now you go from 100 units of value to 500 units of value, and this could be done. Low value per linear foot crops are things like melons and squash and potatoes and corn, maybe sweet potatoes are in there. High value per square foot or per linear foot are things like baby root veg, carrots, salad mix, tomatoes. The next category 3 in the CVR system or crop value rating system, is we want a high price per pound. In his book at the time, he used $4 per pound. This could vary by market. Obviously, this is important. If you can sell one crop at $6 a pound and one crop at $2 a pound, and you have equal amounts of those crops, you'd much rather sell the $6 a pound one, assuming profit margin is equal in both cases. Second, you want, if it's not a short DTM crop, meaning something you grow for 60 days and you get it out, if it's something that's going to be in the bed for a long time, then you want to be able to harvest it for a long time. And I'll go into detail on that in a sec. So you want to be able to harvest it for at least 4 months. So that's planting, harvesting, and moving for 4 continuous months. This is something like tomatoes. You plant tomatoes once they start to fruit. For many tomato varieties, you can just keep harvesting and harvesting and harvesting for a long time. Now, 4 months isn't like this magical line. If it was 2.5 months, that's great. That's very different than potatoes, which you grow for a long time, then they're all really ready at once. Sure, you can dig them up slower, but they're not making more the longer you keep them in the ground. The plant lives its life cycle. It produces whatever product it's going to produce, and then it dies. Tomatoes keep going. They produce more and more because it's this vine that continues. You can lower and lean, use all sorts of strategies to continue the life cycle of tomatoes. So by the time you get to that 120 days, if it's an indeterminate tomato, you're not getting an instant yield that's a one-time yield. You harvest some and you continue to harvest it in addition to maintaining that crop. So if it's not a short DTM crop, short days to maturity crop, you want a long harvest period on it. Tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers could maybe be in this category. Some herbs can be harvested perpetually, depending on where you are in the country. They could be a perennial. And the fifth category of the CVR is popularity. How popular is the crop? Ideally, you want high demand and low market saturation. You want a lot of people to buy it with as little competition as possible. If you can get this, that makes it easy to sell. You don't want something that people don't want, obviously, because you're never going to sell it. And you don't want something that with a saturated market, because then you're competing on price, you're competing for the same customer. Heirloom tomatoes are a good example. Go to any farmer's market in mid-July, a lot of people have heirloom tomatoes. What really makes one farm's different from the other? For the most part, if they're all organic or no spray, they look the same. It comes down to relationships, and you'd rather not compete on against other people like that. You'd rather be the only one having something. So this crop value rating, let's look at an example of that. So salad mix. Salad mix, a big driver for a lot of farms. It is a crop that literally brings green into the bank account. If you want your profits, your farm business to be green financially, you're going to have to grow greens in most cases. So it has a short days to maturity, 30 to 60 days, depending on the season, scores a point. High yield per linear foot. It's densely planted with high yield. So you get a lot of product out of a linear foot of bed. There's a lot of salad mixes in a linear foot compared to squash, which is one plant that spreads way out. So you might be getting yield off of it, but it's taking up quite a few linear feet of bed because it just spreads. Lettuce is one little plant here, one little plant, one little plant. It just stacked them up in nice little rows that look so beautiful. Maybe one of the thumbnails of these videos, you'll see them. So that gives it a point. You have a high price per pound, $7 plus per pound. That's a winner chicken dinner for a lot of farms. Like salad mix cooks. It works in many markets. You can usually sell it at a premium price because you often have a premium product. A lot of people struggle to grow good quality salad mix. So market farmers who master it often have an advantage. Growing it seasonally, unseasonally, in the heat of summer, lettuce doesn't want to grow. If you can grow salad mix then, you might have a market. You grow it early in the spring, late in the fall, when maybe other people aren't in business, gives you an edge. Nonetheless, salad mix a very, very popular crop. You also have a long harvest period or several successions. So salad mix, you can harvest it once and then just let it go. So we'll crop it out. That's what we've harvested a bed. Now we're done. You can also maybe get multiple cuts out of it. So you cut it once after it first is ready, and then you let it regrow and you come back and cut it again. And sometimes you cut it again. Some farmers use that strategy because it increases yield. Some farmers don't find it effective because they find the next cuts after the first cuts lower quality, maybe a little more bitter, not as good of leaves, lower yield, and they find better results just by one harvest and then they pull it out. Nonetheless, this is short days to maturity. So in that 4-month period, we're not harvesting once for 4 months. We're harvesting, replanting, replanting many times over 4 months. So we're not just stuck on the idea of one crop that takes a long time to grow. Corn, long time to maturity. Sweet potatoes, long time to mature. You're only getting one harvest out of that long days to maturity. Lettuce is a short DTM crop, but it wins on this long harvest period because you can keep recycling it. And then popularity, as I've said, salad mix, high demand, high price point, it wins. So that's a 5 out of 5 on the CVR. Not awesome in every market, not going to work in every market, but for many markets, it does work. What are other crops that are a logical starting point? I want to start a farm. What should I think about when I look at the seed catalog? Look at salad mixes. They work. Look at microgreens. They work in a lot of markets. Tomatoes score high. Root vegetables, herbs, flowers. Cut flowers are becoming increasingly popular on market gardens, and they Bouquets often fetch crazy prices for crazy high profit margins. It's not unthinkable to have people selling bouquets for $18 to $30 a bouquet, which to me seems crazy, but the people who buy flowers buy them every week. They love them and they spend a lot on them. So there's a lot of small scale market farmers who focus on flowers and make a good living doing it. Other logical starting points, geographical favorites. I talked to a lot of farmers in the South, and what's the one crop that's associated with the South on farms? Okra. I don't get it. I don't eat it. I don't cook with it, but a lot of farmers make bank selling okra. So there are these geographical favorites that in your region, maybe it really works. Let's look at the numbers. You also want some gap fillers. Going back to the gas station example, this is the soda, this is the chips, this is gum, condoms, and aspirin, and alcohol. Maybe things people would have all in one night. These are basket fillers. It helps round out the table. It adds variety. It adds color. This isn't your driver of your economics. If you look at, you want your high value crops, they're like 80% of what you grow. The other 20% is your exploration, your fun, your gap filler. That attracts people to your booth. It gives them something else to buy. That's not to say that these numbers don't work. They have to work, because if you're not growing it at a profit, why grow it at all? You have to focus on that part. But you are going to potentially have to grow other things. You can't sell just salad mix. So I know if I sell salad mix, okra, and broccolini, salad mix is carrying the heavy weight. So if somebody buys salad mix, I'm making good money on that. I'll make good money on my okra because it's a geographical favorite. If I can also get them to buy the broccolini, I know I'll make some money with that, and it's maybe one other thing that they would buy. So it drives up the average order value, which is good to have. Some words of caution. The less land you have, the more strategic you have to be about this. You can't add space to grow more. If I need more money to survive, if my business needs to make more to thrive and expand, if I need more money to support my lifestyle, oftentimes in a market garden, you can't add land. So with that constraint comes creativity. It forces you to focus on what are you going to grow and how can you grow the crops that maximize the value on the land that you do have. You have to maximize value by selling the highest value crops and selling the crops you can grow the most of, which is what that crop value rating really hit on. I want high value crops that I can sell many times throughout the year. I don't want a high value crop that I sell once. I don't want a low value crop that I can sell many times. I want high value that hopefully I can sell and sell and sell, because that's how I effectively get more land. That's what the whole strategy is here. This is what it boils down to. We're hacking land. We're getting more land without getting more land, if that makes sense. You must, though, use this crop value rating as a starting point. You can look at what other videos say. You can listen to what people say on my podcast, Farm Small, Farm Smart. Link to that below. You can hear what farmers are growing. You can read books like The Market Gardener or The Urban Farmer and start with those crops. That doesn't mean they will work in your area, but they give you a starting point. This has been figured out, okay? So if you're going to start a fast food burger joint, you're going to start with a basic hamburger and a basic cheeseburger and fries. You're probably not going to add zucchini fries to the menu on day one in lieu of potato fries. And you're not going to serve kombucha. You're going to probably serve with soda because that works. Like, start with what works and then experiment out. This is a recipe that has been shown to have success. Adapt the recipe as you need, but respect the recipe to start with. So, multiple ways of saying this gives you a starting point. Iterate after. Don't just go rogue here and grow whatever you want because it sounds cool. But be sure to research your market, figure out the local favorites. What are underserved areas? Maybe there's local favorites that nobody else is growing. Maybe there's just things nobody else is growing that people want. Grow those things. That could make them high value just because they're simply popular and you're the only one growing them. Experiment a lot. It's not just I grow salad mix, but I need to figure out what's the salad mix that grows well in my location in the season I grow it and delivers the color and taste for my market. So a salad mix doesn't mean just lettuce. It could mean Asian greens and things like arugula and I don't know, some of these other bitter greens, mustard greens that are spicy. If your market hates that thing, but you can grow it really well, don't grow it. So find the things that work in your area and adapt. Salad mix is this umbrella that covers more than just lettuce. Be very careful doing too much at once. You might find you're making your list of high value crops you want to put on your farm, and you might have 15 of them. Be cautious doing 15 crops at once. That's a large learning curve, learning how to grow those throughout the year. You also may not have enough land to get enough of any of them to really make a difference because on a limited land base, you have to have enough production of every crop to matter. You don't want a little bit of everything and then you sell out at the market right away. Or you can't sell enough to a restaurant because you're only producing 10 pounds of salad mix a week and they want 30. So you're going to have to find some crops to really specialize in and own. You're going to have to find out how to grow those. Taking on too much can be a management disaster. It's like if you had one kid, that's the thing. But hey, if you're Nick Cannon with 12 kids, I get they're not the same mom. But 12 kids under one roof, you're going to need some nannies to help out there because it's going to be chaos. That's probably what it's like for a new farmer with 12 crops. You have to be able to sell it all. This is another key. Just because it pencils out on paper, that doesn't mean anything if you can't actually sell it. It only counts once you've sold it. It only counts once you have the money in hand. Growing stuff, harvesting it, packing it, trying to sell it, not selling it is just losing money, doing stuff to lose money. So you have to be able to sell it. And you must be willing to adapt and pivot. You're starting with a hypothetical list based upon this system. It narrows the lens, as I've said. It's not the lens of truth. It's a lens of what could be true. You start there. You do those. You say, can I grow this well? Can I grow this consistently? Does the market want it? Can they pay the price I want? Do I have pest issues? Do I have disease issues? And then you slowly adjust based upon real world feedback. That gets you selling at the market. You see what people think. What are they buying? You put 10 crops down that you're selling. Where are people gravitating towards? What are they shying away from? They might hate one of your crop value superstars. You don't grow it. You ask them, I'm growing all these things. You come every week. What else would you love to see me grow? That starts to give you ideas. Then you run those numbers. The key is you're finding high value crops that maximize the value per linear foot, that maximize the value per day. Because you don't have a lot of land, time, and resources to work with. If you want to make money, market gardening, Those are the key metrics to focus on when you get started. That gets you going, and then you start getting real world data, and from there you adapt. But before you do anything, whether you're starting a new business, adding a new crop, and you're already in business, run the numbers first, see if it works, and then make sure you're running the numbers throughout the season and at the end of the season so you can actually confirm whatever idea you had in your head about this crop. This is a superstar. I love it. No, it's just amazing. It's Roman Reigns, champion. I guess he's not champion now. It's Cody Rhodes. It's the Cody Rhodes of my farm. And then you realize, oh, this isn't Cody Rhodes after all. It's Elias. I don't like Elias. It stinks. If you don't watch WWE, you didn't get that joke. But I hope you got a lot of other good information out of this video. If you want to learn more about the crop value rating system, check out the book, The Urban Farmer by Curtis Stone. I will also have a deeper, more in-depth video about that coming up. If you want to learn more about market gardening basics, please check out the other videos on this channel and let me know your thoughts on this video. What do you think? Do you want to learn more? Do you need more detail on certain things? I'd love to answer those questions in a future video. Leave comments below. That's all for this one. Thank you for watching. Until next time, be nice, be thankful, and do the work.